I know that. Welcome back to London.
Thank you.
Um, this has obviously been a pretty successful place for you, the O2, won 4 titles here. I was just wondering if you could reflect on your kind of best memories here before this leaves London, and how disappointed you are that there'll be no fans here to just kind of say farewell.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to be back in London. Obviously, I miss coming to London for Wimbledon, as probably many other players that love Wimbledon and everything that Wimbledon represents in the history of the sport. But I think O2 Arena was a very successful arena for this event over the last 11 years. And I was fortunate to have plenty of success here in the past 11 years. And it's hard to pick one of the titles and finals that I had, but I had some thrilling matches with Roger, with Rafa, and of course now different circumstances, no crowd. It does, it will probably, I mean, when we start playing official matches, will feel strange. But I think by this time we're already kind of used to it because we played many tournaments without presence of any crowd. So I guess that's something that will kind of help us to accept this kind of circumstances situation as it is. Yeah, I mean, as I said, this arena really it was a wonderful setting for this event over the years. It's definitely one of the most successful arenas to host ATP finals in the history of its existence. So yeah, it's going to be strange really giving a farewell year to this arena without crowd, but nevertheless I think we are all grateful and lucky to have a chance to actually at all play this tournament here.
Mate?
Hi Novak, like you said, welcome back to London. Over the year, you've had a few tough instances this year with what happened at US Open and French Open, but one good thing is you have the year-end #1. So does that make you go into the tournament kind of relaxed, or do you feel like you have to get the title to finish the year on a high?
Well, obviously, coming into the tournament and knowing that I clinched the year-end #1, for sure it releases some of the pressure, definitely. But at the same time, it doesn't change what I hope and to achieve in this tournament and why I'm here. I really want to win every single match that I get to play and try to get my hands on the trophy. And I want this trophy as much as anybody really in this tournament. So I'm really hoping that I can end the season in best possible way, and the success that I had previously here in the last 10 years helps me feel more comfortable and more confident about myself and my game on the court.
Ryota?
Hi Novak. My question is about the Tokyo Olympic Games, and not a little people doubt that the Olympic Games will be held in Tokyo next summer because of the Corona crisis. And how is your prediction? And do you feel you would like to participate in the Games at this moment? Thank you.
Well, I'm not really familiar with the Corona situation in Tokyo and in Japan. Obviously, it's not great. Most places in the world are kind of in the similar circumstances. Tokyo Olympics are potentially happening summertime. August, end of July, August, so there's still quite a lot of time up to that, that month when we are supposed to be part of the Olympic Games. So I'm hoping that it will happen, and I'm hoping that the crowd will be allowed, because it's really difficult to imagine Olympic Games played with no crowd on, not just tennis but all the other sports. And yes, I am planning to be in Tokyo for the Olympic Games. I was really looking forward to it this year, and I'm looking forward to it next year. So that's going to be obviously in my schedule for 2021.
Nicolas?
Yeah, hi Novak. I just wanted to ask you about your group. I mean, obviously you faced the two finalists of Paris and the debutant in Diego Schwartzman. So what do you make of the opponents you have to face?
Well, I'll play against Diego. First time. I think first time indoors that I get to play him. I played him several times outdoor on clay, and played last in finals of Rome tournament. Obviously different conditions here. He never played on this court, but at the same time, that probably is kind of releasing him from any pressure that he has to do well. So Diego is in a great form this year. Is probably has been his best season of his life. He deserves to be part of this tournament. He had some great results in the last couple of months. I have lots of respect for him. He's a great guy, fierce competitor. Is one of the quickest players on the tour. Very solid from both forehand and backhand. It's very difficult to get the ball past him. So you kind of have to be patient but at the same time try to dictate the play. Let's see what happens. Obviously, there I hope that I can kick off the campaign at this year's ATP Finals against him with a win. And Zverev and Medvedev are in probably the best form of any player that we have here in this tournament and in indoors. I mean, Zverev won 2 tournaments in Köln in a row and then played finals in Paris. Medvedev won the Paris tournament. So those guys that are very tall, that have big serves and just huge weapons from back of the court, very solid backhands, and they forehand also. They're complete players, both of them, and kind of similar styles, I would say. So, I think you really have to be at your best in order to win against those guys. The way they are playing at the moment indoors.
Last 2 in English, Russell?
Novak, it looks as if we have a fair few months of uncertainty still ahead of us, unfortunately, despite the positive news about the vaccine. There have been many financial implications for players and for tournaments over the last few months, and that may well continue. How concerned are you for the sport and the players heading into 2021?
Well, I shared the concern with all the ATP, WTA, Grand Slam, leaders, and ITF. Of course, everybody who is involved in the tennis ecosystem is concerned, and I think what really gives us the biggest concern is the unpredictability of the next season and how this will all play out. And I think the downside for us in this sport, but any other sport probably, and for most of the fields of life, I would say, is that it's really not in your hands. The governments of the certain countries where the tournaments are played can decide on whether or not the tournament is played at all. And it's a constant negotiation, and as you said, a lot of financial implications and downsides. You can't really satisfy everybody. I know that there's a lot of unhappy low-ranked players that don't really have a chance to compete, and they see us competing on the highest level. I think for tennis, it's great that we actually have an opportunity to compete at the biggest tournaments in the world. Well, at least most of them since the restart of the season. But it is troubling to hear and to see that on the futures level, on the first level of professional tour, there are really very few tournaments, and the biggest group of professional players on the rankings is actually there. So anybody that is really ranked behind, 500 in the world that, can't really participate directly in the challenger level tournaments, they are, they're struggling. I mean, they're struggling big time. I've spoken to a lot of players that are they're ranked 500 and lower, and they're asking for any help to provide tournaments to them, and the difficult thing is that obviously challengers and the tour tournaments are regulated and organized by ATP, and then you have ITF that takes care of the futures, and it's very complicated. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. It's just it's a very complex situation, and we should all, I think, try to communicate more with each other. I feel like that's maybe something that we could improve. When I say we, I mean players, tournament owners, federations, everybody really who is involved. I think there should be more communication with players on all different levels, because then you can understand really what they go through and what they need, and then you can come up with some ideas that would allow the tennis as a whole to prosper as much as we possibly can in these circumstances.
Last English question for Jens.
That being said, what can you tell us about the PTPA at this point? Because in New York there were only men in the Armstrong Stadium. What about the women? They only had 2 tournaments on WTA level.
Yeah.
Is there any plan to integrate the women into the PTPA?
Yes, that's what I've actually also said in the States, that we are actually talking with a lot of female players on different level, not just top level. I did speak with Serena and Sloane and a couple of other players, but we at the moment have to, within the PTPA, figure out what is the strategy and what is the structure and what is the system, because it's quite difficult for all of us, not just the PTPA, but all of us involved in the tennis ecosystem to understand what future brings. Because it's so unstable in terms of the calendar and what tournaments are going to be played or not. And we're just trying to establish ourselves in a way in the system, and we are also having an ongoing talks with ATP, and we are soon going to start to do the same with WTA and try to understand how we could incorporate the PTPA in the system, because PTPA is founded and it's formed already as a 100% player organization, both men and women, and it deserves its place in the tennis ecosystem. So it is the process that it's going to take some time. It's not simple, because we don't want to have any aggressive approaches here that people were speculating that we are going to have. We just want the voices of all players across all board levels, rankings, to be heard. And we just previously I answered on the question where I was pointing out that we have issues, especially and particularly on the first level of professional tennis, that are not addressed, and there are hundreds of players that are showing their discontent with the current system as it works. So PTPA's goal will be trying to work with all governing bodies and sides involved in men's and women's tennis to understand how players can be benefiting more from this system and having more opportunities and more jobs, and extending that list of players who are actually living from tennis, because right now we have only maybe around 200 players that actually can live, make a living from tennis, and everybody else who is lower ranked than 200 is losing money. So this is one of the strategic, so to say, goals of PTPA and how we want to position ourselves. But it's a long way, and I'm grateful to players that already kind of signed in and supported PTPA, and all the players and all the other people that are not players but are involved in tennis that supported PTPA. I understand there is a lot of criticism, and I've seen people questioning whether this is the right step and right move, whether PTPA is dividing tennis and not uniting tennis. I understand there are differences in the opinions, but our intention is never to divide tennis, absolutely not. But because of the current system and how it works, players really don't have their own 100% representation, and this is why PTPA was formed. This is the core value and the core essence of the organization.
Thank you. We'll move into Serbian. Vuk.
Hello.
Vuče, vidim te.
Ćao Nole. Nole, dva pitanja, jedno neizbežno. Da li si gledao fudbal sinoć? I drugo pitanje, koji je bio taj komentar na ocenu da završni Masters u Londonu nikada nije bio izjednačeniji po svojim učesnicima?
Gledao sam fudbal sinoć i bio jako razočaran na kraju i teško mi je palo, naravno, kao velikom navijaču naše reprezentacije u bilo kojem sportu. Nadali smo se svi toj pobedi i da ćemo se kvalifikovati na Evropsko prvenstvo. Nažalost, to se nije dogodilo. To je što je, mislim, to je sport. Ja kao sportista profesionalni potpunosti mogu da razumem kakav je to osjećaj pobediti u ovakvim mečevima, da kažem, utakmicama, ovako bitnim momentima za taj sport i kako je izgubiti. Saosjećam se sa momcima i sa, kažemo, svim ljudima koji su navijali. Eto, nadamo se boljim vremenima, kako da kažem, i da ćemo ojačati još više kao reprezentacija nakon ovoga. Što se tiče ovog turnira ovde, verovatno si u pravu, ovo jeste jedan od, da kažemo, edicija ovog turnira u posljednjih 11 godina koji je verovatno izjednačeniji nego ostale godine. Prosto zato što imate igrače poput, ne znam, Medvedeva i Zvereva koji su vjerojatno u najboljoj formi kada je dvorana u pitanju, pošto se igra u dvorani na ovoj podlozi. Oni su trenutno u zaista izvrsnoj formi. Rublev takođe. Onda imamo Cicipasa koji je osvojio ovaj turnir prošle godine. Imamo Tima koji je osvojio Grand Slam ove godine i koji je, naravno, iako je imao možda problema u Beču i slabi rezultat kao i ja tamo, opet ne možete da njega ne gledate kao favorita, tako da ima stvarno puno favorita, dosta izjednačeno, u pravu si, ali to je pozitivno, to je dobro za naš sport, nadamo se da će to privući veću gledanost i da će biti izuzetno kvalitetan turnir.
Saša?
Ćao Nole.
Ćao Sale.
Jedno malo opuštenije pitanje, pitao sam većinu igrača, pošto ljudi više su kod kuće sad nego što bi pre bili i gledaju TV, pa koje bi im ti preporučio serije i filmove, koje ti voliš onako i zašto? Znam da u poslednje vreme ne stižeš...
Ne gledam, ali stvarno sad ovo nije kao sad nešto da izmišljam stvarno, ali stvarno ne gledam televizor. Jer je sve stvari koje mene interesuju nađem na YouTube-u i tu slušam. Nešto što me interesuje, nešto što želim da pogledam, nešto što želim da čujem. Televizor samo palim kada je neki sport u pitanju. Vesti ne gledam i ne znam šta bi preporučio. Ja inače kada odgledam film, gledam nešto ili sa decom, ili ako nema dece, onda ako gledam za svoju dušu i ne znam, zajedno sa svojom ženom, onda obično gledamo neki dokumentarni film na neku temu koja nas interesuje, ili neki, kako se to zove, superhero, Marvel, kako već, te kao naučne, fantastične, to jako volim, to mi je sa tim sposobnostima i nekim stvarima koje su nezamislive za sve nas, nekako mi to uvek me ubaci u neku maštu i u tome uživam.
Last one, Saša.
I ništa Nole, samo bi te pitao još teniski, znam da si sad rekao da želiš, da ti je želja nesmanjena, motivacija nesmanjena, ali koliko zapravo gori ta vatra u tebi, jer dosta se spekulisalo o tome, ok, završio si taj broj 1, nema više slemova, nekako kao da se misli o Australiji, da li stvarno gori ta vatra u tebi za ovaj turnir?
Pa gori, vidi, pre svega gori vatra za takmičenje i nastavak karijere profesionalnog tenisa, jer suprotno stvarno ne bi bio ovde. Mislim, Saša, ja stvarno nemam razloga niti pritiska da ja igram, nikome ne pritiska, ni sponzori, ni familija, ni tim, i niko ne može da izvrši taj pritisak na mene da prosto me nabedi da moram da budem negde, da moram da igram zbog nečega. To je sve na kraju moja odluka i mislim da sam se dovoljno izborio posljednjih 15 plus godina koliko igram profesionalni tenis da budem u toj situaciji da mogu da donosim odluke kako želim i da igram šta želim. Ne krijem, to se već zna, dosta sam puta spomenuo u posljednjih 6 meseci da mi je glavni cilj da dostignem taj rekord za najduži broj 1, istorijski broj 1 i ka tome idem. Ovde sam i dobio jedan meč i izgubio 2 prošle godine, imam opet kažem šanse da zaradim neke nove poene i turnir je jako uspešan za mene i ova arena, imao sam dosta titula ovde i izuzetno dobrih nastupa. Nisam osvojio ovaj turnir od 2015. ako se ne varam, ali prosto dobro se osjećam. Evo sad, kažem, trenirao sam odlično ovih dana, nadam se da ću moći da krunišem ovu sezonu i titulom ovde, idem na to. Ako se to ne desi, šta da se radi? Naravno, ja ću nastaviti dalje da koračam ka ostvarenju tog jednog od najvećih životnih ciljeva, zapravo verovatno i najveći, za koji se nadam da ću uspjeti sledeće godine, u prvom delu sledeće godine da ostvarim. I onda ću verovatno malo modifikovati svoj raspored, zavisi kako se osjećam, razgovarat ću sa timom, da li ću igrati one turnire koje sam obično igrao svih ovih godina ili ću smanjiti, fokusirati se možda na Grand Slamove više i određene turnire koje mi prijaju da igram. O tome ću da razmislim i onda ću odlučiti sledeće godine, vidjet ću kada se ostvari ovaj cilj.
Thank you.
Hvala.